Ms. Sanchez has definitely
She's been connected to a lot of
wealthy, powerful people.
Jeff Bezos is going head-to-head with the National Enquirer over the tabloid's publishing of his private text messages.
The billionaire claimed the Enquirer had explicit images and was trying to blackmail him.
The billionaire's messages were actually sold to the tabloid by Sanchez's brother, Michael, for $200,000.
Everything that I did was to protect Jeff and Lauren's love affair, and anyone who thinks money was the motive is an idiot.
Are her looks a product of natural aging or the result of some nip and tucks?
How many distractions does it take to bury a scandal? Because with Lauren Sánchez, it's never just one rumor. It's a trail of messy headlines, leaked texts, plastic surgery whispers, and a wedding that literally sparked protests in the streets of Europe. And no matter how high she flies, the whispers always seem to follow. It didn't start with a red carpet or a selfie. The first major red flag came from someone much closer to home, someone who knew her best, and sold her out for a six-figure payday. Long before Lauren was playing space co-pilot for Jeff Bezos or showing up at presidential events in corsets, she was caught in one of the messiest stories of the decade, and her own brother was right at the center of it. Back in 2019, the National Enquirer dropped a bombshell report. Sanchez was secretly dating Jeff Bezos. That alone would have made headlines. But what made it unforgettable were the private texts, over the top and downright bizarre. One message reportedly read, "I love you alive, girl. I will show you with my body and my lips and my eyes very soon." And, as expected, the internet couldn't resist. That awkward phrase quickly turned into meme gold. Memes and jokes popped up everywhere, like one cheeky tweet that read, "Alexa, make it stop." Another joke that Bezos was sexting like he's an AI in a human suit. The phrase "alive girl" became its own punchline. So who handed those messages to the tabloids? According to Vanity Fair and the Wall Street Journal, it was Lauren's own brother, Michael Sanchez, who allegedly leaked the texts and made nearly $200,000 doing it. Michael insisted it wasn't about money.
Everything that I did was to protect Jeff and Lauren's love affair, and anyone who thinks money was the motive is an idiot.
Though the six-figure payout still raised eyebrows. Bezos himself reportedly considered buying the Enquirer's parent company, just to bury the story before it hit shelves. Too little, too late. The damage was done. The public had seen the receipts, and Lauren Sanchez's name was now glued to one of the weirdest celebrity leaks in years. But instead of laying low, she leaned in. And the attention didn't just stay on her relationship. It turned towards something else entirely, her face. Not long after the scandal, people started noticing something odd. Lauren's look seemed to be shifting with every appearance. By 2025, when she appeared on social media promoting her Blue Origin space trip, commenters pointed out her face looked noticeably different than it had just months earlier. Fuller cheeks, tighter jawline, and skin that looked, well, heavily worked on. Plastic surgeons weighed in. One expert said it looked like she'd had fillers, fat injections, or cheek implants. Another pointed to her attached earlobe, calling it a dead giveaway of a too-tight facelift. According to him, when facelifts are pulled too far, the earlobe flattens and loses its shape, and Sanchez's had exactly that look. Lauren didn't respond to the speculation, but the silence only fueled the rumors. And then came the yacht. In 2023, Bezos launched his $500 million super yacht, Kourou. But people weren't talking about the size. They were talking about the giant figurehead on the front, a wooden carving of a curvy woman with flowing hair. Photos went viral, and speculation exploded. Was that supposed to be Lauren? It looked like her, a lot. But when asked, Sanchez told Vogue the carving wasn't her. It was the Norse goddess Freya. She even said she was flattered, but made it clear the sculpture wasn't modeled after her. Maybe. But the resemblance was enough for dozens of outlets to run with the story. And for many, it felt like just another attention play. Another headline to keep her name trending without saying anything real. And just when things started to quiet down, Lauren Sánchez found herself back in the headlines. This time for a fashion choice that was impossible to ignore. In January 2025, she showed up to Donald Trump's presidential inauguration on the arm of Jeff Bezos, wearing a tight white blazer and a lace-up corset. Yes, a corset, on a national stage. Political commentators were stunned. Even Megyn Kelly went after her. It wasn't just a questionable fashion move. It looked like an intentional grab for attention. But according to her former yoga instructor, the outfit wasn't random at all. In a now-deleted blog post, Alana Zabel, who knew Sanchez personally, claimed that Lauren had a long-standing crush on Bill Clinton. Zabel even said that Sanchez admitted this to her years ago, after they attended an event together in 2009. And apparently, that interest hadn't faded. Zabel suggested that Lauren's provocative outfits at political events, like the state dinner in 2024 and the 2025 inauguration, were all about catching Clinton's eye. Now, to be clear, these are claims made by a former friend. There's no hard proof, but the post went viral before it was taken down, and the internet ran with it. Sanchez didn't respond publicly, but Zabel didn't stop there. She hinted she had more secrets she could reveal, and even accused Lauren of lying about her cosmetic surgeries. According to Zabel, Lauren once insisted her breasts were natural, or bizarrely, that she didn't go small enough during her reduction. Zabel called that a flat-out lie and claimed Sanchez had already had multiple breast surgeries, with a sixth one planned at the time. Whether it's true or not, the damage was done. Sanchez stayed quiet, and the rumors continued swirling. And just when people thought the drama would die down, Lauren decided to reach even higher. In April 2025, Sanchez made headlines again. Not for drama, but for liftoff. She boarded Blue Origin's NS-31 mission, making her part of the first all-women civilian crew to fly to space. Sounds impressive, and on paper it was. Sanchez flew alongside celebrities like Katy Perry and Gayle King, and the media praised it as a historic moment. But not everyone saw it that way. Critics online were quick to point out that this wasn't a groundbreaking science mission, it was a luxury PR stunt. A few minutes in suborbital space, wearing matching flight suits, snapping selfies, and flying back down. Some called it tone deaf, especially during a time when regular people were dealing with inflation, layoffs, and rising costs of living. Emily Ratajkowski didn't hold back, calling the mission beyond parody on TikTok and calling out the hypocrisy of flying to space while claiming concern for Mother Earth. Sanchez and Gayle King struck back. King dismissed critics who called it a ride, calling that term unfair, and noting that no one ever called the missions of male astronauts rides. Or maybe people were just tired of billionaires using space as a vanity playground. Either way, it was clear. Every time Sanchez tried to reframe herself as inspirational, it backfired. And it wasn't just the space flight getting attention. A few days after the launch, Sanchez and Bezos appeared on the red carpet at the Breakthrough Prize ceremony. What should have been a glamorous photo op turned into another talking point because the photos didn't look right. Commenters pointed out the strange body language between the couple. Sanchez clung to Bezos, pulling him toward her. He looked stiff, distant. There was a noticeable gap between them, and observers started speculating. Was something off in the relationship? Even body language experts weighed in. One told the Daily Mail that Sanchez looked like the most noticeable but also the most ignored person in the room. Ouch. But none of that compared to what happened next. After more than 2 years of engagement, Sanchez and Bezos finally set a wedding date. But instead of keeping it private, they went full spectacle and Dutch, choosing Venice, Italy for a multi-day event filled with celebrities, yachts, and enough security to rival a world summit. Locals weren't thrilled. As the media hyped up the event, protesters hit the streets. Environmental activists, annoyed residents, and even tourists complained that the wedding was disrupting their lives. One group even chanted, "Eat the rich," in public squares. Why? Because the sheer size and scale of the celebration was just too much for a historic city already struggling with over-tourism. Even city officials had to step in and issue a statement, trying to calm the backlash by saying Venice hosts big events all the time, and this one wouldn't be a problem. Still, for many, the whole thing felt like one more example of Sanchez being completely out of touch. Meanwhile, just before the wedding, ex-NFL player Anthony Miller, who was once engaged to Sanchez, resurfaced in the tabloids. He accused her of cheating on him during their relationship back in the late 90s. According to him, he found evidence in her diary and felt he couldn't trust her. But sources close to Sanchez claimed the opposite, that he was the one cheating, and that he was only trying to stay relevant by tying himself to the Bezos-Sanchez media storm. Who was telling the truth? Hard to say, but the timing was suspicious. And like everything else in Lauren's orbit, it all came back to headlines, speculation, and chaos. So after all the private leaks, plastic surgery rumors, fashion backlash, space stunts, and a wedding that literally caused protests, what exactly has Lauren Sánchez escaped? Not much. For someone who spent the last few years surrounded by the world's richest man, flying to space, and posing on yachts worth more than most cities, the headlines haven't gotten any kinder. If anything, they've gotten louder. Because no matter how many stylists, publicists, or Instagram posts she cycles through, the public doesn't seem to be buying what she's selling. And maybe that's the problem. Every time Lauren Sánchez tries to rebrand, whether it's as a news anchor, socialite, activist, or astronaut, she's met with the same reaction: skepticism. People aren't just questioning her image, they're questioning the motives behind it, the constant makeovers, the carefully staged appearances, the lavish distractions. And behind all of it, the one thing that keeps coming up is that something always feels off. Now, to be fair, some of the rumors are just that, rumors. Not everything written about her is true, but when the speculation keeps piling up, year after year, it stops looking like gossip and starts looking like a pattern. At the end of the day, maybe Lauren Sánchez's biggest problem isn't the critics, or even the media. Maybe it's that the more she tries to prove she belongs in the spotlight, the more people are convinced she never really did. Because if there's one thing she still can't buy, even with Bezos-level money, it's authenticity.